right, welcome back, and it's time for that heavy tier list. We have 33 trucks to go over. I'm gonna try and keep it short in between, but this could be a long video, so strap in. So this is the list of trucks that are the power crept or the power creepers. Some of the best trucks in the game. Some of like single use experts, and some high saddle haulers, and some things that don't belong. So some things to go over. Just a reiteration of what this list is. This list is for hard mode preference only. Now, if you play normal mode, that's totally okay. You can use this list. Keep in mind, some of these trucks you do get for free. Now, when I say free, let's talk about what that means. DLC trucks do cost real money. But when I say free, I talk about the in-game currency of money that you have to purchase it with. And some of these trucks you still have to purchase even on normal. But like the DLC trucks, for example, that you pay real money for, you don't have to purchase with in-game currency on normal, whereas you do in hard mode. So that's going to be a consideration. So I'm not... When I say money, I'm not referring to money in your actual wallet. I'm referring to money in-game. Then obviously the transfer cost. So the reason why I have the tiers the way they are, which we'll go over in a minute, is would you pay $3,500 to transfer it? Or would you keep it and only take it to certain regions? Or would you just sell it, you know? And if you're going to sell it, hard mode, you only get half of what the vehicle price is, which means sometimes you just keep it in the garage, right? Because it's hard mode, fuel efficiency is important because you have to pay for fuel, because basically everything is a monetary change in the game. So I mean, obviously fuel efficiency is important. However, there's going to be different fuel levels that I rate it based on, basically either being very low fuel consumption, very high fuel consumption, or somewhere average based on the fact that it's a big chunk or heavy. Because heavies obviously use a little bit more fuel than like a smaller heavy duty or a smaller off-road or even a scout. But some are on par for its size, and that's what I would consider average. And then, like I said, there's ones that are above that, and there's ones that are significantly below that. So we'll call that out when that happens. We did make a couple of rules. This one is going to ruffle some feathers, but no purchasable truck, as in DLC or even truck that is in the base game, can make it to S tier. There's 33 trucks here. There is some price inflation, obviously, with the heavies. And because of that, no purchasable truck is going to make it into the S. So we're just going to give you the TLDR up front. Anything that you have to pay money for, the maximum it can be is A. Okay. So only trucks that you find will make it to S. Got it? The tiers. Let's go over what the tiers mean. So obviously we have over here, we have S tier, which is the best of the best, right? So whether it's the master of one thing or many things, this truck is a truck that you think, I would like to bring this to every single region that I'm in, right? And it is something that you will use possibly in every single region, and will be very strong in every region, obviously, based on what the use case is for, right? So the S tier is, like I said, we're sticking to non-purchased vehicles you find, best of the best, right? And like it can be based on different categories, which we'll go over. A are the always transfer trucks, so we're trying to keep it somewhat related to the letter. These are always worth transferring if you need to have it, or even sometimes always worth purchasing, which again, these are going to be a lot of purchasable trucks, so that's totally okay. And these are going to be the strong trucks, whether single use or very versatile, based on, you know, how many add-ons they have, which is going to bring us to the next point. You know, add-on versatility is important when choosing to buy, or if it's not found, or sell it if it is found, that kind of thing. So I mean, obviously, like, there's going to be a discussion about what add-ons they have, which is what this space on the left over here is for. So we're going to be putting some stuff over there, which, let's throw some stuff over there right now. There we go. Start with that. So the B tier is going to have a balance of positives and negatives that make their better choices out there, right? So there's going to be a lot of trucks that do fall into this category, where, I mean, some of these unfortunately are the trucks that got power crept, right? So we have some trucks that came out more recently that are stronger and are going to push some things that may have been A in the past down into the B. They might be good at, like, okay at multiple things, but not a master at anything. These are trucks that you could keep around and use if you want, or you could sell them and make some money and buy some other trucks, because that's sort of the name of the game with hard mode. The C tier, these are just trucks that don't really belong in heavy. There isn't a ton of these, but you probably already know which ones they are. I'm going to suggest where they get moved to, which a lot of them just get moved to heavy duty, and we'll talk about that, where I would place them in heavy duty when we get there. So that's going to be the C tier. And then the D tier is not necessarily that these are bad trucks. I want to point that out. Every truck in this list is a usable truck, okay? With maybe the exception of a couple, but we'll get there. These are don't buy me or sell me to make money to buy other trucks, right? And maybe even put stickers on them. If you don't know that trick, put stickers on your trucks before you sell them, and it's worth a couple thousand extra bucks. These are going to be the trucks that you just don't really want to use, right? Some of the things we'll be covering as we go through each item. Notable add-ons or upgrades, like if there's something unique or some good combos or upgrades that are found in different regions that make it sort of a weird truck until you get those upgrades. Some of the good things, some of the bad things. We're going to touch obviously on the fuel, whether it's, you know, very good, very bad, or somewhere in between. The price and level, if you have to purchase them, like what level they unlock, which level doesn't really matter too much, but we're going to just point it out. How much they cost, how much they sell for, because selling is half in hard mode. So we'll go over obviously those prices, and let's get going right into the tier list. Okay, so we're going to start with the base game non-DLC purchasable trucks, so not the ones that you pay money for. These you have to choose to buy, whether you're in normal or hard mode, and you most likely wouldn't sell them even if you did buy them, because obviously you have to choose to buy them no matter what. So if you're going to buy it, and you're going to lose out on half, but we will point out the sale price just so you know what they are. So starting out, we're going to do the P12. Okay, so we're going to do this in order down here. Some of the notable add-ons, you get large maintenance frame, which is really nice. It gives you a larger fuel tank. It is the first truck in the game that available to have log crane and long log front carrier. So you can do both long logs and have a crane, which means you can use it to load and not pay for your auto loading. The good of this one of the highest saddles in the game. It is a very high saddle, so it is very good at doing the high saddle haul, right? It's also an excellent long log truck. And it's even got what I like to call the Goldilocks combo, which we'll refer to in the future as well for other trucks. But Goldilocks combo of always on diff, selectable all-wheel drive, and it gets bonus points for the advanced special gearbox. The bad of this one is it's got limited add-ons, obviously, as you can see on the left here. Torque issues. I mean, it's not super bad. It has been discovered that if you have the Jetpack tires and you put the ATHD tires, ATHD 3s, you get the stability of the dual, but it also produces a little bit of slip, which prevents lockup of the tires. So you can fix it sort of. but you really have to drive it. But it is an early game vehicle that costs a pretty reasonable price of 126,600. It's available right away at level 1. Again, it sells for 63,600. So if you were to sell it back, you wouldn't get a ton. It does have average fuel economy, and being that season 16 isn't out yet, but they are talking about doing Pacific changes. The thing I hope they give it would be either 600 weight tires or a bump in torque. So based on that, we're going to go ahead and slide this guy up into B, and that's where it's going to live. So moving on to the next one, we have our Azov Antarctic. This one, notable add-ons, it's long log or log crane, but it can't use both at the same time, which is sort of weird. It also has, as you can see here on the left, some various bed combinations. It's just sort of a weird truck that doesn't really do a lot. The good is it is very unsinkable in breakable ice. It does have that big 600 weight tire, so that definitely makes it very good for getting through deep like conditions like snow and mud. It is not the greatest at doing rocks because of those big tires. They tend to push it around a little bit, and with the articulated steering, it doesn't really like that too much. It is very decent at doing long logs, especially as long as you can keep it flat, right? As long as there isn't too many dips, it's pretty good at doing long logs. Unfortunately, it is the worst form of articulated steering, which I'll get into in the future, but it's got the rigid in the center, like the pivot point is rigid so it doesn't twist. It's also got the worst combination, so the opposite of the Goldilocks combo. Has diff lock selectable with all-wheel drive always on. It is pretty tippy if not driven carefully. It does again have that limited add-ons, and unfortunately it's really a master of none. Like any of the add-ons that it has, you can't say it is the best at any of these. The fuel capacity is lower as well, and the consumption is, I would say, average to maybe bordering high. It's not super high, but it's because it's lower fuel capacity, it kind of suffers a little bit. If you could do high saddle, I would say it would be more usable, but you can't. The kicker on this one is it's level 26, so almost the end. You have to purchase it for $140,700 as well, and it only sells obviously for half of that, $70,350. So based on that, this one, I'm gonna say don't buy. That's gonna be the first don't buy. All right, moving on, the Azov 73210. This is for notable add-ons, I guess I would call this the first extremely versatile heavy that is available to you. You get things like the large maintenance frame, crane bed and trailer, both low and high saddle, first 3-slot truck basically, which you don't get the crane with it, but you do get a 3-slot bed, log crane and long logs as well. So you can use this to do long logs, or you can put a log crane and a low saddle and you can do log shuffle with it, which is the first truck you can do it with as well. So that way you can run your 5-slot semi sideboard truck, load it with long logs, and shuffle those logs with the crane into another long log truck, maybe the P12, and get it sorted out so you can not have to make so many trips, right? The good, I would say, which we already covered some good, of course, but it's the first 10x10, and it is the first rear steer vehicle on the list, and it is extremely fuel efficient. So you will notice that this thing has about the same fuel as Azov Antarctic, but it also uses way less fuel, which makes it go forever and ever and ever and be very stable while doing it. The other cool thing about this one is it's got a nice flat roof. You can overload real easily with this one. You just pinch stuff to the roof. The only real bad, I think, of this one, there's two bads, I guess. The only important upgrade really is the one in Amur, the active suspension, which lifts up the second problem, the nose. So we're going to show a little clip here. We did some testing, obviously, with the nose. It's slightly improved from early on. There was some discussion as to what that change was, but the change revolves around it being able to clip through the ground, as you can see here, whereas before it would just dig in and not go any further forward. And then the only other thing I guess I could say that's slightly negative about it is the high saddle height is on the low side. The other positive of this thing, however, price. You can buy it at level 20, which by the time you get to the first Russian region to buy it without paying for the transfer, you'll be level 20. And it purchases for 89,100, so it's on the lowest, probably one of the lowest priced heavies on this list, besides for I think one. And it's so selling it, you just don't sell this truck. If you buy it, keep this truck forever. But it does sell for 44,550. Based on that, that's going to go into our first A for always transfer. If you buy this truck, you're going to want to take it with you. All right, next on the list, we have the Derry 4520. This one, so this is your single purpose high and low saddle, and in this case, long log with no cranes. So it's basically just for high and low saddle and long logs, which is fine. You do have to buy this one, obviously, whether you're on hard mode or normal. The only upgrade to note about it is the best engine for it is all the way in Maine, so you have to wait until you get to Maine to, if you're doing the maps in order, which we're assuming based on this. You wouldn't get this for a while, obviously. And but it is the good on this one, it is 8x8 and it is another rear steer, so you get very capable, and it's one of the three things that it can do is obviously, as long as you don't care that it doesn't have a crane, it's good at pretty much all three of those things. The suspension, why I'm showing this clip, is the suspension is very flexible. So it's kind of soft, which is sort of like bordering a downside, where the high saddle height is kind of low and it can kind of sag a little bit and the feet can drag a little bit. So be aware of that if you use it for high saddle, but it's really good at low saddle, really good at long logs. The fuel usage is like bordering high, but I would say it's accurate for its size again. And it's got a pretty big size fuel tank. The only bad part, level 24, 146,300 to buy this thing. So based on that, I'm gonna put this actually below the P12 in B. So we're gonna start sorting these based on what's better than the other trucks. Because this one, again, you have to buy it. It's more expensive. It has less uses and no crane. So I'm gonna say that this one's probably, I would buy this less than I would buy this. Right, moving on. Let's get to the Kolobs. There is obviously letters or numbers, I should say, for these. We're just gonna call them the Kolob long nose and the Kolob short nose. Makes more sense that way to me. Notable add-ons. These are both only high saddle trucks. The only upgrade that you have to worry about these is to get the active suspension on these, which you probably want on both of them, are in Yukon. So that's the only bad part, is obviously the Kolob long nose and both the Kolob short nose get their final upgrade in Yukon. So you probably don't want to buy them until then. Considered this, I would say, so this truck here, let's start with the long nose. This is considered the most stable truck in the game. It's got a really low center of gravity. We're going to show you some clips of obviously trying to flip it, and we're on a very tilty slope and it's not going to go. It is also extremely capable, even for being an old truck, as a high saddle. Doesn't have the highest saddle, which is sort of a bad, and it is a single-use truck that you have to buy, but it is really good at that. So I'm actually going to put this, if you bought it, okay, so this is the caveat is, if you choose to buy this at level 1, this one is a level 1 truck, by the way, 118,200, sells for 59,100. If you choose to buy this truck, I'm going to say you're going to want to take it with you. So this is going to go obviously below the Azov 7 because it's less versatile, but it is a very good truck if you choose to buy it. Would I tell you to buy it? I'm going to say maybe this one, just because this is a personal preference thing. So let's talk about the short nose long Kolob. This one, again, only high saddle, only upgrade is in Yukon. It's other notable thing about this one is it's got a crazy reverse gear beep, just unrelated to any performance. It just sounds really interesting. It is slightly more fuel capacity than the other one, and it's got always on diff and all-wheel drive, which doesn't really matter because it's got the advanced special gearbox in both, so you're not going to lose fuel for having all-wheel drive always on. It is also very stable, but it is considered slightly less stable than the long nose Kolob. I would say this was an early game favorite for a lot of people for high saddle single-use trucks. Again, it's not the highest of high saddles, but it does very good at it, and it's very strong, so it'll just pull through even if the feet do kind of dig in a little bit. And maps start out pretty easy, so this is a good, like, take it with you if it's an easy one, if you choose to buy it. Again, it's relatively average for fuel efficiency on both of these trucks. This one's a little more expensive, and the level requirement jumps up to 22, so 135,000 for this one, sells for 67.5. But I am going to slide this one slightly, just slightly above, and this is a personal preference thing. You pick which one of these you want, and I would say if you buy one of these, not both, you won't be upset with using these, but you might end up not taking it always, right? So these are going to possibly slide down this list a little bit, but like I said, these are both good choices if you choose to buy them. And I might buy one of these in my current save. Didn't in the previous one, and I kind of regretted it. So, all right. So now that we've got the base game trucks that you have to purchase out of the way, let's talk about the paid DLC trucks. Get your wallet out, because they are pricey both in-game and out of game. And just a note, all paid DLC trucks are level 1 requirements, so there is no level starting out. We're going to go with the Navistar. This one's sort of a unique one. It was essentially an exclusive pre-order truck, so you didn't actually have to pay for this if you pre-ordered, but if you have it on Steam, you can still buy this DLC. But if you have it on Epic, you cannot, and I don't know if you can buy it on both PlayStation and Xbox either. So like there's a limited availability of this truck, which kind of makes it exclusive and neat that way. I have it because I have it on Steam, and I did pre-order it back in Steam, so it's something that I had it, so I didn't actually pay for this truck like real money, but some of you may have, and it's a pretty cheap DLC, but it's still something you have to buy. The weird one about this one, you can't use the crane with the saddle. So it does give you the option to use crane, but you can't use it with the saddle, which is a confusing choice, but it's a high saddle, low saddle, long lug truck, basically. It is fast, which can be good or bad. It is an OHD1 truck. However, the big one is it's probably the most thirsty truck in the game on fuel. One of the most thirsty trucks. And as you can see, if you're not very good at driving, it can be flippy, and bouncy front ends can also cause some flips and damage and that kind of thing. This guy buys for $140,100 and sells for $70,050. Unfortunately, I wouldn't tell you to buy this truck. It's cool, it looks cool, but I wouldn't even pay for the DLC. This is not one that I usually recommend to people. Like, people ask me, hey, what DLC should I buy? I tell them the jetpack and one other DLC. That's about it. The rest of them you don't really need. I guess maybe a couple now. Maybe some highway heavy duty truck packs are pretty good, but for this list, you're only going to get one recommendation. So yeah, this one is probably don't buy. Like I said, it's something that it's just not very good. It doesn't. I didn't even leave. I left out the one that people always talk about on this one. It doesn't have diff lock, which doesn't really matter, but just not very good. All right. So next one, Tatra T813. This one, notable add-ons on this one. The roof rack actually has decent fuel. It's 160 liters of fuel and 450 repair points. So it's actually quite a bit of roof rack. There's no spares. It does have the better of, in my opinion, the better of the two towing platforms, if that matters to you and you actually use towing platforms, because you can't use cargo on the towing platform, but you can tow vehicles with the towing platforms. That's the one that slides back and then tilts down, versus the one that has just the big, huge, like, makes you tippy wing that sits out the back. This is basically, though, just a 2-slot with a trailer or a high saddle truck. So that's really the two uses that you're going to use this truck for. The good is Tatra suspension makes it extremely capable, relatively stable too because of that. Like, you can still flip this truck, but it's still pretty darn stable and planted. It's extremely a fuel efficient truck. You will not use a lot of fuel using this truck, and the roof rack is obviously an added bonus where you get extra fuel. It's actually kind of, there's sort of a positive and negative to this. Some people say it's positive, some people say it's negative. I say it's neither here nor there, but it's selectable all-wheel drive and diff lock, so it's a good combination of, like, both are off, which is good. Seems to work out okay, and then if you need to flip it on, you flip it on. The bad, unfortunately, is it's a very low high saddle, which makes it not very good at it. And there's no cranes for hard mode, which you generally want cranes so you're not paying for loading. And this one, we're going to talk about the price. This is the beginning of overpriced trucks, and it's the first truck that broke 200,000 in the game at 202,501, and it sells for 101,250. So if you bought it, you might regret it because it's not very good, and you're gonna end up selling it for half of that. For that price, you could actually buy a second 605R for 191,600 and have a much better time. So because of that, this one is going to go in D, but it's going to go slide just above the Navistar. I think it's still more useful, and it is more fuel efficient, and it looks cooler, and I don't know, I guess they both look kind of cool. Looks are subjective. Whoa, what have we here? Lightning round. All right, let's crank through it. Western Star lightning round. So some of these are level locked. The upgrades of these, like, generally have to be about level 20 to max out these trucks. A few of the engines are in Alaska, but otherwise all three of these are fully usable in early game past level 20. All of these should be in heavy duty. So these are going to all go into the C tier. Even if you considered heavy by weight, the 1424 is 9.2 tons, the 1430 is 11.7 tons, the 49X is 10.8 tons, and here's some weights of some other notable trucks that you might recognize, like the Taiga 6436 is 13.9 tons, the Mack Pinnacle is 15.0 tons, the C500 is 14.6 tons, a more comparable old school heavy duty is 10.4 tons, the White Western Star, and for bonus, the F750, which is a Scout, mind you a big Scout, is 7.9 tons, just barely below the 1424 at 9.2. So, some notable things about these trucks. The 1424, it's got a tiny little 1-slot with a crane, and it's the only one with a roof rack. That's a good roof rack. The 1430, the only one with OHD ones. It's got no diff lock, and it's the only double dead axle truck in the game. The 49X is the only one who got the actual diff lock graphic. Womp womp, Bluetooth all-wheel drive Wolfpack trucks. The prices of these three trucks is $113,500 for the 1424. Just put that right there. $120,600 for the 1430. And $140,700 for the 49X. I'm not even going to put the sale price because you shouldn't buy these. On normal, use these trucks. They're very fun to use. On hard mode, unless you just want to show them off for some reason, if you're making content like me, which I did buy the 1430. It's pretty fun, but yeah, just don't buy these trucks. Anyhow, some good for all three of them. All of them are actually great as a low saddle truck, which is sort of why they would fit in the heavy duty tier, in my opinion. They're all very fast. They're all comparable with decent fuel economy heavy duty trucks, right? Like, so like in the range of like what the White Western Star gets for fuel economy, and the fuel capacity is the same. Although the add-ons vary, they all have good versatility. The add-ons obviously are there, and I would say it makes them ideal for the heavy duty class because they're kind of like not expert at anything but can do a lot of things, right? Some of the bads, or all three of these again, all three high saddles are unfortunately all too low to do high saddle work. They will dig the feet in on trailers all the time. They all have a little bit of a flippy tendency, and I would say all three of them have a little bit of a nose overhang, and they like to dig into the ground sometimes and also cause some damage. Like I said, I would, for these, if I'm placing them here on this list where they belong in heavy duty, I would say that all three of them probably belong like in the middle of the A tier. If you bought them, they're definitely worth transferring. I guess I would consider them kind of like the multi-tool of the heavy tier. They can do almost everything, but they're experts at nothing, right? So there we go. Lightning round is over. Okay, back to the regular DLCs. All right, so next one on the list is the Boar. This one, notable add-ons, it is a long log truck. It is a van body truck, which is kind of interesting. Also a seismic vibrator truck, which is also interesting. And a very high saddle high. And pretty much all of its upgrades are in Wisconsin, so you want to kind of wait until season 3 to pick this up because it's just not going to be good until then. But however, the good is it is quite good and capable of doing both the long log and high saddle. It's actually one of the highest high saddles in the game. There's some arguments on the internet saying which one is the highest, which I'll let you guys battle, but I'm not going to claim one versus the other. It's a pretty darn high saddle, and it's a really short frame, so it never really interferes with anything. It does have OHD1 tires. So now the bad. Speed is bad here. Obviously speed is generally the enemy in Snowrunner, but this one, it definitely causes some damage, and it kind of bounces around a little bit, and it can possibly flip because of it. But seeing as you're almost always towing something long, as long as you use the trailer to your advantage, you generally won't flip this truck. But like I said, it's just dangerous because it's real high. The biggest problem of this, though, is the extremely high fuel consumption. As you can see here, you do need the all-wheel drive to get around, but you desperately want to turn it off to save fuel. And it's a very expensive price tag for a paid DLC that is a truck by itself that you're buying this DLC for. So you pay real money, and then you also pay 181,000 of in-game currency for this truck, and it sells for 90,500. This one, unfortunately, does get put into the D tier of don't buy. I'm going to put it actually slightly below. Again, this is a fuel efficiency thing. I'm rating the T813 higher, even though it's more expensive to purchase. Mainly because this thing uses so much fuel, and using that much fuel in hard mode is a bad idea. So, moving on. Next one, the complete opposite, the Azov Atom. The notable add-ons on this one, I would say the coolest thing, one of the coolest things, is the unique maintenance frame that you get with this one. It's 2,500 liters of fuel, 4 tires, and 300 repair points. Plus, you can put a roof rack on it. which has another 150 repair points and another 120 liters of fuel. It's got a ridiculously high snorkel. It can do short logs with a crane, so this is one of the first trucks that can do short logs with a crane. I guess the Azov 7 can do that too. I believe it can. I might be eating my words on that one. Go ahead and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. 3-slot flat bled, 3-slot flat bled. What? I can't say this word. Flat bed with rear crane, and it can still haul a trailer. So that's one of the cool things with this one, that as you see here, and unique 3-slot sideboard with no crane. The only weird upgrade is the best motor upgrade is in Amur. It's the same one as the Boar and Grad in the northwest of Cosmo. The good, this does have the Goldilocks combo of always on diff, selectable all-wheel drive, and bonus for advanced special gearbox. And then that 3-slot bed for overloading is amazing with the rear crane because it just holds all the cargo in. And if you roll to the side and you have stuff sticking out the side, it actually kind of helps you from flipping. And it has extremely low fuel consumption. This is the Azov trick. It's slow, but it is also very low fuel consumption. I think the bad on this one, I would say the bad is it started its life as what I would consider balanced, where you get a very good truck with very low fuel economy with a lot of add-ons that had the sacrifice of being kind of tippy, but then they caved to the paid buyers and made it much less tippy, so it is actually like overly stable now, which isn't a bad thing really, but I think it's a bad thing that they just do that, right? They cave, which they did with the Macpac as well. No comment. Its special tires do look cool, but I think they're thinner than the JAT tires overall, which obviously help the stability, so you don't generally use them unless you just want to use them because they look cool. This one is, in my opinion, the only paid money, real money wallet DLC that I recommend to people to buy. Because it is so good. I mean, you can use it as a maintenance truck, you can use it as a recovery truck, you can use it as a log truck, you can use it as the way you see it, obviously, with the overloading, which is very good at, and you can even pull a trailer around with it while it's doing this. So you can like hook up to a repair trailer even and repair yourself and that kind of thing. It purchases for 154,000, sells for 7. I would never buy this and then sell it, but it sells for 77,000. This one is gonna go all the way power creep up to the top of A, because that's what it did. It snuck past all of these. So that one is going to you're gonna get to see power creep live in this one. But so here we are with that one, and moving on to the last DLC truck. Speaking of power creep, the Zikz 612H, the what began all of the power creep in the game, this truck right here. Obviously notable add-ons. It's got some cool unique add-ons actually. There's a 3-slot bed that looks really sweet, but you can't use a crane with it, but it looks cool. It's got a unique water tank with a large capacity, which also looks cool, but who cares because it's water and you don't actually want to do it. It can do long log and a log crane, but it can't do the medium and short log cradle that it has with a log crane. It does have both high and low saddle. I would say I hope that someday they decide to maybe balance this thing by removing some of the add-ons from it, because it is so good. I think the amount of add-ons unfortunately makes its power creep everything else around it. So anyhow, moving on, the good is it has almost every add-on minus the maintenance frame add-on, which like I said is sort of a good and a bad thing. In my opinion, it's sort of a bad thing. In many other people's opinion, it's a good thing. The lower high saddle height is, I'm not even going to call this a bad thing. It does have a lower, we're just going to state that it has a lower high saddle height, but the amount of power that this thing makes it not an issue. It doesn't matter. It just pulls through. If the feet are digging into the ground, it doesn't care. It just like rips the trailer through. It's still quite the stable platform. It is very difficult to flip this truck, even though somehow I see a lot of people flipping it, and those are we call them the master noobs. But it does happen quite a bit where you see like a mastodon flipped on a stream and then there's another mastodon rescuing it, and that's just how it goes. The bad, I think we're going to talk about what I actually think is bad about this truck. Is it might have to do with its rigidity, is why it flips, right? So like if you're not careful with it, you're just holding the throttle down, the rigidity likes to bounce. So you'll see where it kind of like hops over these rocks. And it's because of the lack of suspension travel, I think, and also the length of the frame and the distance between the tires. And once you get it bouncing, if you catch a dip the right way, it just rapidly flips on its side, which I don't have an example for you because it is still pretty hard to flip it. It also likes to bang its nose on the ground, and sometimes, as you see, it will prevent it from moving forward, and you have to like go back and force it through again a different way, but it still can kind of figure out a way through. Here's the kicker on this one. $228,400. I bought this in my first hard mode save because I am a content creator and I wanted to buy it just to say, here it is. Let me use the master noob. If you play hard mode, you don't actually need this truck. There's so many other trucks out there. So like you could just save the money and not buy this DLC. I don't recommend it because it teaches people not how to play the game. It teaches people how to hold the gas down and flip. Because of the rule that I set in the beginning, and also because of the fact that it's so expensive, I'm going to slide it slightly under the Atom. I could be argued for swapping places and having it at the top of A. Because it is an A truck. If you do decide to buy this truck, this is a truck that you're going to want to transfer to every region because it is, you paid that much money for it, you better transfer it. Secondly, it's a very good truck, right? Like it's still a very good truck. I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just, you don't need it, right? There's so many other trucks in the game that this is the power creep and you don't actually need the power creep, right? And there's plenty of other trucks that are going to go in S that power crept all of these. So don't worry about it, we'll get there. All right, so that handles the DLC trucks. Let's move on in order to the trucks you get in the game. So you started your new hard mode save, you got to Island Lake, you found the Twinsteer, and you're like, sweet, I'm gonna crush this zone now. Look at this huge heavy truck. How sweet is this? Well, let's talk about it. So the Twinsteer, there are no real notable add-ons because there is none. The upgrades, we're not even going to put a list up of add-ons. There's just not going to be one there. You get raised suspension in Alaska, and then the all-wheel drive for this truck comes from Kolob, which is one of the weird ones. But you don't really need it because it's actually fairly capable. So that's one of the goods, is it's actually quite capable early game, and it's great for, you know, extra hauling in some of those easier regions. It is an early game 4 slot, obviously with no trailer because you can't even tow a trailer. The other thing that this truck is a speedrunner truck. A lot of people use this because it's so fast, which the super fast part is both a good and a bad. So let's move to the bad part of that. Speed, obviously, in this case is high damage. This thing will take a lot of damage, especially in the base game regions. You don't necessarily want a lot of damage, especially when it blows a tire. It doesn't really like having blown tires, but regardless. And it flips because of it, which I experienced. And the rating of this truck I would like to disclose that has nothing to do with my recent foray into the end of Tamir. That was me. That was not the truck. It was part of the truck, but it was me making bad decisions with the truck. So the other bad is it's obviously got a high skill ceiling to drive this truck. And obviously if you don't pay attention or make bad decisions like I did, this truck will be on its side a lot. The other bad part is got obviously a very large turning radius, and I would call it probably somewhere between average and high fuel consumption. It's not like terrible, but it stays in two-wheel drive most of the time until you get to all-wheel drive, and it's still not great. So I would put it like on the higher side of average. It's not like high, but it's not great. Weird part about this one, you can actually buy this truck before you discover it, but you just discover it in Michigan anyhow. And the price of this one is $118,200, or you sell it for $59,100. I would not sell this truck. Just to point out where I would put this, I would definitely not sell this truck if you're going to sell it before you go to Kolob, because then you can sell the all-wheel drive and make a few bucks off of that. So you make this $59,100 bump up a little bit. This one is going to go in B. And it's just because there's better choices out there for trucks. Obviously, this one's not bad. It's sort of neither here nor there. I'm not going to tell you to sell it. You can sell it if you want to make a few bucks. Like I said, when I would sell it is once you're done getting the upgrade for it in Kolob. But if you wanted to keep it and use it, it is usable in some of the easier regions. So just be careful with it, and it's still pretty fun. Right, moving on. Michigan truck number 2. The P16, best horn in the game. Everybody knows it. It's just undisputably the best horn in the game. Notable add-ons, not much to talk about here. Long log front with no crane and high saddle. That's it. There's really the only upgrades that you're looking for on this one are the advanced special that you get in Alaska and the engine from Alaska to give it the most torque that is available. This one, I would like to take a moment to talk about tires. There's special coated OHD tires. Just because the Jats are there doesn't mean you should buy them and equip them. Ever. Don't ever put the Jat tires on this truck, because the special coated OHD tires are better, and they don't tell you that. So I'm telling you that. Just never take the tires that it comes with off. That's end of discussion. This one does have always on diff, and the special tires do make it usable in many regions. But unfortunately, it's really only got the 2 uses, right? So it's just a single use truck, right? High saddle logs. The high saddle is very high and it looks awesome. This is again a subjective thing, so I'm gonna say that's in a good. The bad, obviously, this one is the one that everybody talks about. No all-wheel drive. It doesn't really need it, and if it had it, I think it would be actually to the levels of being broken good. Other negatives, I would say, sort of nitpicky, but it's very prone to front end damage, especially tires. And if you do flip this thing, which it can flip, it is very difficult to lift back up again, mainly because of how wide it is and also how heavy it is. Seeing as you do get this one for free, if you were to buy a second one, it costs $140,700. Which means it sells for $70,350. Again, this one is likely to get changes with that specific update. I wouldn't necessarily sell it right away. Maybe just hold on to it into your garage and see what happens in season 16 with this one. I am going to slide this one also just below the P12. Even though you get it for free, I still think they're... Again, we could argue about changing places of this, but it's you choose whether you want to sell this truck or not, but there's better choices out there, right? Right, next one. Cat 745C. We're going to Alaska. We're getting our Alaska trucks. This guy is really it is like a sort of a 3-purpose truck, I guess. It's got this unique 2-slot cargo container carrier, which is cool. I have used it for that, but like, how often do you actually transport cargo containers that you haven't picked up off the ground? Which is rare, because they're usually just on the ground. You have to pick them up, and this doesn't have crane. It has a unique fuel carrier, which it looks cool, but it's 200 liters or approximately 53 gallons lower capacity than the normal fuel carrier that you put on every truck. And it does have a very, very good and stable medium log carrier. So this sort of becomes your medium log carrier early game, again, if we're talking about doing the game in order. The good is it is an extremely capable big tire truck that it is very difficult to get this thing stuck. Even in breakable ice, you can just drive out of it. The nose kind of keeps it up top. It is amazing as a fuel truck because it can double as a recovery truck where you can flip trucks with it because it's super heavy. 600 weight big tires help it obviously with that too. Or even early game single load mediums, you can just run back and forth single load mediums because it's got, I would call it average fuel consumption, and the advanced special gearbox, you can just run it with the all-wheel drive on all the time. And it's quite good for such a large truck. You can use it as like a tow vehicle to like tow other trucks places, that kind of thing, which is real nice. It is the best version of articulated steering. As you can see, the center kind of pivots as it goes through things and navigates terrain. It can figure out how to keep the tires on the ground at all times, which makes it very good. Makes it very difficult to flip. You do have to kind of learn how to drive articulated steering. Sometimes it will bump lock on you where like you'll hit a dip and it'll twist, but like this one definitely doesn't feel that quite as much as some of the other articulated trucks out there. The bad, obviously limited uses, even though it's valuable to bring along to other regions. There's no snorkel, so it can take engine damage even though the nose is pretty high. The nose is a little long, but the way it's shaped, it can kind of push its way over things, but it can hit on things, so you can take some damage unnecessarily. There's no trailers on this one either. You can't actually attach a trailer to it, even in any of the configurations, so it's kind of annoying that way. Would be nice if they added that. That would be maybe one of my wish list things for this one. Let us tow trailers with it. And who knows, maybe give us another add-on or two, or like a roof rack or something. I don't know. We'll see what they do with this one, because cats are also on the list of possible season 16 changes. 129,400 for this guy. Sells for 64,700. I think you'd be a fool to sell this truck. I'm gonna actually slide this up into A. I think we're gonna put it right here, if my computer agrees with me. Right behind the Azov 7, right above the Kolobs. This is a truck that you will always take with you as a fuel truck, just because it's so strong. I almost feel guilty taking this with me, which is why I don't always take it with me, because it's just too good. So yeah, that one, I feel like you just keep this truck, right? All right, so moving on, next truck that we get in Alaska, the Derry 3194. This one is a high and low saddle only truck, so very, very single use. The good is it's extremely capable. They did something to this truck at some point in time, like gave it more power or changed how it worked, and it used to be, I feel, less powerful than it is today. Obviously it has the OHD1 choice. It is on the low side of fuel consumption as well. I would say that this one is probably, it's definitely no Azov, but it's definitely not on the high side of fuel consumption. It doesn't have a ton of fuel, but it doesn't really go through it that fast. It is very fast as well. The bad side of that is it can take damage, especially on the nose. The nose is, it likes to dig in the nose. It is relatively stable. You can still flip it, but it is relatively stable, and it's got power for days. This thing can pull up hills in places that other trucks can't. So it's still at the single use, low or high saddle. It is very good at those two uses. The bad side of it is those limited uses, of course. Although I've been using it, which if you've been following the channel, I've been using it on the most recent save with the Olsom's OLSOM as in Mary low saddle long log trailer, and it's absolutely amazing and a joy to use to do long logs with that low saddle trailer and this truck. So if you're a mod user, grab that trailer pack. It's a good time with this truck. The high saddle isn't very high, so the feet can sometimes rub. And then the obvious one, the turning radius is about 3 miles. This thing does not turn. Yeah, be prepared to use your winch to help you turn sometimes. It's just very slow to turn, so you kind of have to get used to driving this thing around. But it's a very good truck. If you were to buy a second one, price is $133,900, which means it sells for half of that at $66,950. This is a weird one. I'm gonna say if it was only the early game, I would put it like down here, bottom of A. But because of power creep and the fact that this one gets, you can obviously use other trucks that are just better to pay the money to transfer. I'm going to shoot this one above the P12 into the top of B. So it is useful early on, but you start not using it and then you don't always transfer it. So at that point, it might be time to sell it. So just keep that in mind. So it does sell for a decent amount too. All right. Next truck, next region is the Dan from Tamir. Dan 96320. This one, notable add-ons, does do long loads. It does have both beds, flatbed or sideboard. It does fuel or repair points, but not a maintenance add-on. It does both high and low saddle, even though I would not suggest the low saddle due to how far it is in the rear position behind the axles, and it will cause it to dip way down. And heavy crane or multi-purpose add-on. The only weird upgrade for this one is you do get the option of an active suspension, but it's not until main, which kind of sucks because sort of a, we'll get to that in a second, but let's start with the good. It is very capable and it is a ridiculously flexible frame. This thing kind of twists around and molds to the terrain very well. It's got a really strong engine and the fuel consumption is on the very low side. This one can go quite the distance with what it's got for fuel. The bad on this one is it is a little nosy until you get that suspension from main, so because the overhang you can get it to gig in and not want to move. It can bog down in some real deep conditions too, and I think that has to do with how soft the suspension is, because it can flex so much and it's only a single tire, it can kind of get itself bogged down. It could, and then this is not something that's going to be changing, but it could benefit from a fourth axle, like a 8x8 instead of a 6x6. There's a big gap there in the middle, or maybe even heavier tires to prevent the squat that it does when you put a lot of weight on it. And like I said, the other bad is that low saddle just being too far to the rear. You really can't use it as a low saddle, and the high saddle is too low to really use as a high saddle truck, so you end up using it as a log truck usually, or like a repair fuel truck, which it's very good at. I actually used it as a scout in in Tamir. This one, second one, if you were to buy a second one, $129,400 and sells for $64,700. This one, I'm gonna say goes in between these two guys. Probably keep this one more than this one, because again, this is just, you got this one first. This one does pretty much the same thing. One's long logs, one's low saddle, high saddle. They're basically interchangeable. You sell them eventually because other trucks power creep them, unfortunately. So, moving on. Season 2, Yukon, Cat 770G. So this has got essentially what's called a heavy fuel trailer, and then also that heavy saddle, which is specific to a mission trailer that you have to tow 2 of their rock trailers in Yukon. It does have that large capacity fuel tanker, so it's a 2,000 liter or 53 gallons larger than a normal fuel carrier. It looks like a water tank, but it can't do water, which again, nobody cares because nobody wants to do water. The good on this one is it's actually reasonably capable for a two-wheel drive diff lock truck due to its gigantic 74-inch special coated tires. Again, you should never change the tires that are on this truck. Even though the Jats are available, do not equip them. You will have a bad time. Use the tires that are on it. The bad, I guess, is it doesn't really like to turn. Like it can always go forward and backwards. It can always figure out a way to go forward and backwards. Like the traction on the special coated tires will make it go, but sometimes it just doesn't want to turn. So you'll have to use the winch to help it turn sometimes, or change direction sometimes. It doesn't have a snorkel, but it also doesn't really matter for how much you use it, unless you carry it onto other regions as a field truck. This one I don't think I want any changes for. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't even know what I would want on this truck, because it would need a redesign to like be drivable. It is high value, 169,800, sells for 84,900. So if you're done with it and you're not using it as a larger capacity fuel truck, might be a consideration to sell. Might be. So I'm gonna actually throw this all the way to the bottom of D, because this is the first one that I would tell you probably don't need this truck. You can keep it, like I said, as a fuel truck, and it doesn't make a bad fuel truck. It is actually surprisingly capable, but like I said, you're just not going to be able to turn. So yeah, it's questionable whether you want to use it. All right, next season we're going to move into Wisconsin, and we're going to check out the Pacific P512 PF. This one is, we're just going to start by saying that this one is another should be heavy duty truck, or maybe even a highway, somewhere paired in with the W990, which it's a better truck. The W990 is a better truck than this, by the way. Weight is still comparable to heavy duty trucks at 15 tons, so slightly higher than the other ones, but similar to like the C500. It can do logs with a crane, long logs with a crane, and it has most available add-ons in the game. It can do crane bed trailer, it can do high and low saddle, and it's good at both actually. The high saddle is high enough. It's got both log frames, so it can do logging, it can do the metal detector, it can do the seismic vibrator, and it can also do the maintenance frame add-on. So like it's got pretty much everything. It is very capable with the special tires. Again, these are the same special tires that are on the P16. Do not get baited by putting jetpack tires on this truck. You will have a bad time, because this truck, when it first came out, had only all-terrains, and they were like, oops, we should probably do something about that. So yeah, they gave it the special tires from the P16, and it became good. The bad, the obvious, no all-wheel drive. I kind of wish the diff lock, if they're going to change this one, I wish the diff lock was always on like the W990. And the fuel capacity is super low. It's a 200-liter tank or 53-gallon tank, combined with extremely high fuel consumption for a two-wheel drive truck. Mind you, this truck is not all-wheel drive, and it still uses as much as it uses, and it has a really small tank. So my wish list for if they were to change this one in the quote-unquote air quote Pacific changes that are happening in season 16, this truck, I would say a consumption balance, something to do, make the transmission a different transmission, make the engine use less fuel, something, and give it a bigger fuel tank. Give it like a 80-gallon fuel tank, like the same size as like a White Western Star. I do not want all-wheel drive on this truck. I think it's good how it is with the, just give it diff lock, all-time diff lock, give it a bigger fuel tank, maybe change the transmission up to be more fuel efficient, or however you do it. Make it doesn't need an engine bump or anything. Like, I would just leave it how it is, but just give it more fuel. This one purchases for 135,000, sells for 67,500. I'm gonna actually slide this one up above these, because you get it for free, and I love this truck. I love how it looks. So again, if this was going in the heavy duty tier, this would be like middle of A, and this would be like above the middle of A. in the heavy duty tier list, if it was heavy duty, which is sort of where it belongs. All right, moving on to the other Wisconsin truck, the Paystar 5600. This one, lots of notable add-ons actually. 3-slot with a crane and a trailer. So this is the first 3-slot. And this one you can overload just like all the other 3 slots. Like if you don't buy the Atom, for example, this is the first 3-slot with a crane and a trailer, and it's a yellow crane too. It can do all 3 log sizes, long and short. You get to do it with the log crane as well. It does have a very unique combination, which I didn't get a clip of. I apologize, I should have done that. Of van body repair add-on and a low saddle. You can put a van body in front and a low saddle behind it. There is no high saddle on this truck, which is a unique thing as well, sort of for the heavy list, but I'm okay with it. And you can also do log crane and low saddle with this one, which would allow you to do more log shuffling, but I think I'd probably rather use the Azov 7. But the good is this is an extremely stable truck. The suspension on this is unique and very flexible. I'll be playing a clip at some point that'll show you basically how flexible the suspension is. It just bounces up and down. Each individual tire has such a large amount of travel. And for such a large vehicle, it is amazing how well this thing stays planted on the ground. You still can flip this truck because it's just so long and so tall, but it actually has good balance overall for it being such a huge truck. Overloads do work well on this truck, just like the other 3-slot trucks. The add-on that I left out though is the massive 2800 extended fuel tank, which is 1,000 liters bigger than the one that you can buy for other trucks. This truck becomes your must-have fuel transport between regions truck. So like if you're going to get free fuel from Alaska or Michigan still, or even like going back to buy cheap fuel, this is the truck you want, and it just becomes your fuel truck. And the reason why I say that is because the bad is it is extremely fuel thirsty. I would love to use this truck to haul cargo with, and I have. It's fun, but it's much better off as a very capable, very large fuel truck, and I never recommend selling it in hard mode because of that. It does sell for only $63,300 as its price is $126,600. This one, I'm going to actually slide this guy in between these two. Azov 7's probably still better. This is a better fuel truck than this is. It's also more versatile if you decide to use it something for other than a fuel truck. So that's where it goes. All right, next region, we're going to Amur, and we know which one is there because everybody knows this is the one, the 605R. Notable add-ons on this one: it can use the heavy crane, but it's not the good heavy crane. It's the smaller yellow Russian heavy crane. It can have a log crane, which is weird, but it can't have a low saddle or long log front with it. I guess you could use it maybe to pull like a 2-slot trailer and overload for mediums, like do the sideboard shuffle, but questionable whether you want that. Seismic add-on it's really good with, because of course of how stable it is. You can do both fuel or repair with it. You can do both 2-slot beds. You can do a saddle high that can be comboed with this unique spare wheel that comes with 2 tires and an extra 40 liters of fuel, which is kind of neat, and it just looks cool too. The good, there's a lot of good in this truck. The average fuel consumption with tons of fuel and tons of power, I would say it's average. It's not high, it's not low, but it's got a large amount of fuel and a large amount of fuel in the roof rack. And if you do the little extra fuel, it's got a little extra fuel there. This truck, even though the high saddle isn't very high, much like the Mastodon, it can just power through stuck legs in the ground. It just pulls right through, doesn't really care. So high saddle trailers are definitely not an issue with this thing. It is a lower high saddle, like I said, but it's just, it doesn't care. It'll just pull through in most cases. Again, don't be baited by the much smaller JAT tires and keep the special coated tires on. There is JAT tires available, and they are 54-inch instead of 61, so if you for some reason put those on, Godspeed. We can't be friends. So this truck also, I would say honestly, with the special coated tires, it can pretty much drive anywhere, right? This truck can go through super conditions. This truck can almost be a submarine because the snorkel's on like the roof. This truck has very good, extremely good suspension travel, and I think like in comparison to the Mastodon, has a much shorter frame, and that solves the bounciness, right? Like it doesn't have that weeble wobble effect when it's going over things, and the nose is obviously much shorter, so it doesn't make it dig into the ground. And it does it all while using less fuel, which I forgot to mention. The Mastodon, if you use the lowest motor, is one of the most fuel hungry vehicles in the game. Weird, but low engine, high fuel, very weird. Stability is top notch. Obviously, while power is among the best, it's very hard to describe driving this thing. That it is literally a hold this. I feel like I'm cheating using this truck, driving it around. It doesn't do a lot of things, but what it does do, it does the best, right? And just hold the gas down, right? Just hold the gas and just keep driving, because it just is overpowered and it's good, right? The bad, obviously, doesn't have a lot of add-ons, which I agree. And a lot of people will say, you know, that's what makes it worse. It's not as versatile as other trucks, but it also kind of balances its power out, in my opinion, and you can't just use it for literally everything in the game. You have to use other trucks. You're forced to use other trucks, which I kind of like the single-use trucks a little bit, so this is a personal preference thing. As we said before, the price of this one, if you were to buy a second one, is $191,600, which is cheaper than the Tatra. It sells for $95,800, but if you sell this truck, again, we can't be friends, because it's going to go in S. It's still the king for now. Until they change that, or power creep it, or possibly we power creep it. Who knows? Stay tuned. Alright, next one in the next season, we're gonna move to Don and pick up the Tatra Force from the garbage heap that it is in. Notable add-ons on this one: it does have that unique towing frame that actually has some repair points. There's 250 repair points and 3 spare tires in it, on top of the nice roof rack that it's got, which has got 300 repair points and 160 liters of extra fuel. It's got the unique Tatra 2,000 liter fuel tank. It's the same one that's shared with the Phoenix, which I like so much on that one. The Tatra bed and Tatra crane, so it does work well, as you see here. The multi-purpose module, which you can do a single slot with the Tatra crane and more fuel and more repair, so it's like sort of versatile in what it can do. The good is it was improved on, I believe in season 13. They made the front end not so saggy. It's better than it used to be, because like I said, the suspension used to kind of squat down real far in the front, and it kind of lifted the nose out of the dirt. The engine is extremely strong on this thing. It's got that Tatra wishbone suspension again, which gives it that real great off-road capability and overall pretty good stability. It's pretty hard to flip these things, but if you do flip it, it's really heavy. This one, similar to the Phoenix, is really low fuel consumption. Like, this one's surprisingly low, and it's got a ton of fuel. Like, there's very large fuel capacity, big roof rack, big extra things if you decide to put them on. The bad, I guess, to this though is it is a slow, but it's like slow in a bad way, where it kind of feels sluggish, and I can't really describe why I don't like how it feels when it drives, but it just feels like it's being like I'm pulling something behind me and I can't get rid of it. It doesn't have a lot of add-ons. The high saddle, unfortunately, is far too low for heavy trailer, and it doesn't have the power. It squats too much. The suspension makes it squishy for high saddle, so it'll squat even more, which then just digs the feet even further in, and you can't pull out of it like you can with like the 605, right? This one is, I'm gonna place this one in an interesting place. People are gonna say, what is this? What are you talking about? I'm gonna actually throw this one up here in A, because the previous one I said you would bring always as well as a fuel truck, and this is another, this fits right in here in these fuel truck gang trucks. But this one can again do more than just a fuel truck, so that's where I'm going to decide to leave that one. Moving one more season up, we are now in Maine. We're getting upgrades for all these other vehicles that are down here that needed their main upgrades, and we're also picking up our Aramatsu Forester. This is, obviously, I'm not even going to put add-ons up on the screen. You know what this has. It's got a crane, it's got medium logs or short logs, and you have to swap it. Can't do both at the same time. Be the only thing I would improve about this one, really. It does have the capability of towing a trailer though as well, so you can have that built-in log crane with shorts in one section and like a medium trailer, or vice versa, mediums in the you know, the cradle section and then a short trailer, and then just overstack the living heck out of it and then just pack it in the trailer. The good, if I haven't already kind of wooed about it, it is the single best medium and short log truck in the game, in my opinion. And it's only recently, Pinnacle, became a closer fight. I still think this is way better than the Pinnacle, but it's just, there's like the Forester, and then like 2 steps down is the Pinnacle, and then like 5 steps down from the Pinnacle is everything else, right? You know, like, so like it's still, there is a competitor creeping its way up, but I still think the Pinnacle hasn't like overtaken the Forester. It is definitely the log shuffle king. You can overstack this all the way up to around 30 logs or 10 sets of logs, and then just unload them and load them. That's the only hard part, is obviously if you're not good at the crane, you're not going to like this truck. But it is insanely capable. That suspension it flexes really well. So like it's always keeping all the tires on the ground at the same time. The fuel consumption is ridiculously low. It does have that bad always on combo. All-wheel drive is always on, no diff lock on combo with articulated steering. Doesn't really matter in this case though, because slow is good when you're overloading logs, so you just live in low plus and you're fine. Really the nitpicky bads are there's no snorkel, but it doesn't really matter because you don't go into super deep water, and the nose is still really high. And there's no change for icy roads, so like if you're on icy roads, you kind of gotta just go around. And this is sort of a weird nitpick, but because it can tow trailers, and the futon trailers came out in season 14, they connect kind of low, and it can, like the way that the futon trailer kind of dips down, it can drag. And I think that's more a fault of the futon trailer design, but just a weird thing. This truck, never ever sell this truck, because it only cost $41,500 to buy a second one of these. So if anything, buy another one. Make 1 shorts and 1 mediums and just hand them truck. Because you can only sell it for $20,750. It's not even worth selling it. Like, just keep this truck. So this is actually going to be the first single use that goes up here in S. And I might get hate for that one, but that's okay. You can leave a comment below and tell me how I'm wrong. Whoa, what do we got here? Another lightning round. Time for tractors. Farming. Something you should probably be playing Farm Simulator for and not Snowrunner. They tried to make them more useful by adding some crappy logging cranes, and a couple have some maintenance add-ons that you never really want to use. And but hey, at least they're worth a lot when you sell them. Let's talk about some notable add-ons. K700, has some crappy grabby crane for hay bales that you never actually use because a mini crane and a sideboard semi is 10 times more effective. And the K7M, it's got 2 tires if you want. It's got a single add-on for a little bit of fuel and some repair and 2 spare tires. That's still not better than just running a Scout or literally anything else. But hey, it looks cool. And the futon doesn't have articulated steering, I guess, and some weights that impact the ground more than the chin of an Azov 7, and a crane that sucks to use and barely reaches the namesake trailers made for it. The combine, it does look cool when you're farming. When you're farming up some fields, it does look pretty cool. I mean, you know, aesthetically, they make cool tractor noises. The double tires also make them very hard to turn, but also very hard to tip. The bad, nobody wanted farming. Season 8, this is because we're dipping into Season 8 here. Farming sucks. It should have never been added to the game. They did way too much. You don't really want, it was more even before they changed it and reduced it. I feel like you're forced to keep at least one of these in case they decide to add more farming into the game, but goodness, I hope not. Or, you know, just sell them all, and because it's hard mode, you end up having a bunch of money anyhow by the time that they get to Season 18 or whatever, when they add more farming. Don't quote me on that. If that happens, I'm going to be mad. But yeah, they're all worth a ton, so you could sell them all and probably buy one back and still be okay. The order here doesn't matter. I'm just gonna throw them all in the bottom of the D. In fact, we're gonna grab this guy from Season 14 and put him down there too, even though that's probably the one I'd keep. K700, 153,300, sells for 76,650. K7M is 198,300, sells for 99,150. Make sure you put your stickers on these, get a couple extra thousand. And the futon, if you decide to sell it as well, is 209,700 and sells for 104,850. So there you go. That is lightning round number 2. Continuing on to more things that I dislike. Season 9, Derry Special. Oh, the Derry Special. Let's talk about add-ons. It does have quite a bit, both short and long logs with no crane, unfortunately, but it can do both. Heavy cranes, it's actually got both heavy cranes, the real heavy sturdy one, the new one, and the old one. It can do crane bed and trailer. It can do a maintenance frame. It can do seismic module. It can do, it's like a middle height saddle high, so it's actually starting off with the good. One of the better saddle high trucks, with the exception of one thing that we'll get to in a moment, but the thing that you always use it for is the unique water carrier, which I hate doing because water sucks and Season 9 sucks, but that's okay. But it looks cool, obviously. It, you know, has the wee-woo lights, and its main use is doing water when you get it, so definitely use it for that. It does have a very strong motor. It used to be one of the highest torques in the game until the Femm came out, and then it got prepped. The strong motor with very low fuel consumption combined with tons of fuel makes it a really good truck to use, actually. It is relatively stable, but man, did I flip this truck a lot. And I think it was because I was trying to overload it, so it's probably best kept minimal on the overloads, especially with that 2 slot, because I wasn't using it with a high saddle trailer, only unless I was hauling a big trailer around, right? And you don't haul cargo with that. It is quite decent actually though at long logs and those high saddle trailers, just hills obviously, which is the bad. Very large torque, but really kind of needs 600 weight tires to not just lock up the tires going up hills. It also has the anti-Goldilocks combo of always on all-wheel drive, not always on diff lock. So you just have to live in low plus, otherwise the center tires spin. As stated previously, it can also be very flippy, and it's extremely heavy and difficult to get upright when you do flip it. So like, don't take a lightweight off-road to go and try and flip it up, or even a Scout. It ain't gonna happen. This one is 179,600. It's expensive, so it sells for 89,800. I really hate to put it here, but this one is, again, like the epitome of power creep. And this is gonna go to the top of B. And the reason why I feel like it fits perfect at the top of B is this is the epitome of there are better choices out there than this truck. It's good at everything that it does. It's like okay at everything that it does, and it does a lot. It's just not, it is not an expert of any of those things, and you tend to just leave it where you got it and not take it with. So this is up to you. Sell it because it is worth a lot, or keep it and take it with you and use it and have a good time with it, and maybe flip it a few times and curse it and then sell it. But anyhow, moving on. Season 10. Let's talk about the Kenny 963. This guy, some notable add-ons or add-on combinations, because it's got a lot of add-ons, as you can see. It is one of now 3 trucks that can do long log crane and log crane and the medium logs at the same time. So you can overstack mediums with this truck without a trailer. And one of 2 that can do all log types, which is both long, medium, and short with the log crane. Pinnacle is the other one. And one of 2 trucks with the 2800 liter extended fuel tank, which is obviously the other one we talked about, is the 5600 TS. So there, it is a very unique, has a large amount of add-ons. It has that oil field bed that like extends the 3 slot, obviously 3 slot crane trailer. The thing you use this one for, you can do this as very high saddle. It is a very, very high saddle. It is great for like you're tired of messing around with a tough trailer haul and you're like, forget it, I'm getting the Kenny, I'm taking the bed off of it, I'm putting the high saddle on it, it's getting pulled. You just take the Kenny, it just does it. However, the thing that I use it for the most, it is the single best overloading truck in the game. As you can see, this is like me just casually doing 9 beams. This truck can essentially dominate cargo in every region of the game. It gets bonus points for the best combo of always on diff with selectable all-wheel drive and the advanced special gearbox. If I were to be nitpicky about the bads, there's no chains, but who really cares? Just drive off the icy road because it can, because it's Kenny, it's a big tire truck. It can drive obviously through ice with those big tires, and it doesn't really get stuck, even though I did get stuck in season 15. There was a moment where I got stuck. There is some power issues. Again, this is something that a lot of people talk about with the Kenny, is it can't drive up hills. It can be resolved by properly knowing when to bump gears in auto, or swapping to low at the right time, and not low plus, low, or downgrading the tires back to the stock balloon tires, which has been proven to help again with the slip issue, kind of like the P12. This is almost worth buying a second at 147,600. You could use one for fuel and one for cargo. And it sells for 73,800. And again, if you sell this truck, we can't be friends. This truck, we're gonna animate the power creep. Okay, we're gonna say like A, it's an always transfer, and it goes past this guy and goes past this guy. Oh yeah, definitely better than the Azov 7, better than the Zikz, better than the Atom, better than this guy, better than this guy. Yep, we're gonna put it above because it can do more things and it can do it better, with the exception of a few things. Like I said, the 605 still has the power on it. but I think either of these trucks could swap places, but I think the Kenny edges it out a little bit just because I like using it more and it's huge. It's got that Big-em truck feel, you know? So that's where we're gonna leave it. Alright. Moving on to the next season. Season 11 we skipped because there was no heavies in that one. Season 12, though, North Carolina. We get a heavy. Oh, do we get a heavy? This was another power creep. Notable add-ons, the 4-slot custom sideboard. That was the big thing that everybody talked about. Oh man, you can have 4 slots packed plus another 4-slot trailer. I prefer to use the 3-slot with the blue crane, albeit it is a blue crane, which kind of makes it suck. But you can still tow a trailer with that 3-slot and a blue crane. It can also do the large maintenance frame, which I guess I didn't realize. And I might actually, if I get to that point in my save, I might actually use mine as a large maintenance frame truck. Because it, you know, it needs the fuel. We're skipping ahead a little bit to the bad, but it does have a small roof rack, which again it desperately needs for the fuel. The heavy crane is a very nice add-on. You can definitely use the heavy crane. It's a little tall, and I feel like it can make it a little tippy, which is use at your own risk, but it can use the heavy crane. And it is now tied for the most torque engine in the game because it was originally it went and power crept the Derry Special, and then the T880 from the Kenworth pack said, I'm a highway truck, I would like 288,000 torque as well. So here we are. We have 2 trucks now that have the same torque. The good is this is a very strong overloader with even though it is with the blue crane being its weakness, it's still very strong at overloading. You just have to like manipulate the crane and push stuff back. As long as it's not a steep hill or a very rocky or uneven surface, which is sort of like big tire curse, the Femm can drive anywhere. It can just go anywhere. The snorkel height makes it into a submarine. It is 100%. It can just drive all the way up to the top of the snorkel pretty much. You can overload the 3-slot as you see here and also pull a 4-slot trailer if you really want to behind for some of the largest hauls available. Kenny can too, but Kenny suffers a little bit more from power. I think this one can do better on flat than the Kenny can. The bad is it still lacks some power in those extreme hill climbs because it's just so heavy, or especially rocky environments because of the articulated steering. That articulated steering combined with that worst combo of all-wheel drive always on and diff lock selectable just makes you have to live in low plus. Like the center tires on the rear of it just spin if you don't run it with diff lock on. It can flip easily due to it being rather tall and narrow as well. I have flipped this truck plenty of times. It's been mainly my fault, just not paying attention to the terrain, but you just have to be really careful. But the articulated steering can like snap in one direction because again, it doesn't twist. It doesn't have the good Cat 745 twistable articulated steering, and it'll like, you'll hit a dip and it'll just snap to one side, and it's really dangerous when that happens. This guy is expensive, $208,600, so it sells for $104,300. I honestly wouldn't sell this one though. Gosh, I don't know. Like, it's like a very love-hate relationship that I have with this truck. Like, it's one of those, like, I feel like it's just too strong, but it rightfully needs to go and power creep its way up past all these again and just go and then go up to here. I think we're gonna stop behind the Aramatsu because I mean this thing is like you bring this everywhere. This one, you bring it, you try not to bring this truck because it's so powerful, but if you need the big gun, it's there, and you just bring the big gun and it just takes care of it. And I've used it in that situation before and it just took care of it. So this is a truck that you use sparingly because of its fuel consumption. It's super high fuel consumption, but like, man, is it a good truck. So weird, but here we are, building up the S tier. Go figure. towards the end of the seasons, we're gonna go towards season 13 again. And this time we get the Plad 450. This one has a unique 2-slot, which is the one that you see in pretty much me using it all the time. I use that 2-slot with that little tire that goes in the back. It's called the float bed. Unfortunately, the only sucky part about that thing is it goes away. The tire goes away. You lose the tire if you take it off to change it to like do high saddle or do logs or something. But it has like all the necessary add-ons, right? It has a good roof rack. It has a heavy crane. It has all the logging types. You can do log crane with long logs. It does fuel, it does repair, it doesn't do the maintenance add-on, but that's okay. The good, it is a very high saddle again, with a very strong engine for doing that high saddle work. Can like struggle just a tiny little bit sometimes, but I don't think it really is. It's just more like terrain differences and that kind of thing, and maybe a little bit of rigidity. The unique multi-purpose gearbox is good in this thing too. It has like really good strength in all the gears still, but like you can get a little bit more speed out of it, and you don't really need a low plus in this truck to suck up more fuel. So I think it's a pretty good option. It is very good at overloading with the 2-slot float bed because of the shown tire mount. It holds the bottom cargo in, and yes, you can fit 3 bins sideways on it behind the crane, even though it's only a 2-slot bed. The stability with or without overloading is high regardless. This thing is, unless you're a bad driver like me and you flip it, it will surprise you on how stable it can be. This was me not doing this right and going too far down the hill, and I tried it 3 more times after that and it was fine. So it was just me on this run, but I figured I'd show you the one where I flipped it, because you can still flip it, but it is a challenge to flip it. The bad is the fuel tank, I guess, is on the low side with average for its size fuel consumption, which means you'll be dipping into that roof rack a lot. So like it doesn't have the largest fuel tank, which is kind of the only down. Big roof rack, small fuel tank. It can power struggle, like I said, a tiny bit up steep inclines, but I think it's much less noticeable than other heavies. And it can do pretty much anything that it has the capability of doing well. In fact, like just driving through inclement terrain, every single tire in this one, this is the anti-jetpack tire as well. I forgot a positive. They're all 600 weight tires, so you can put whatever tire your heart pleases on this truck, and it is a good tire. So they should have done this for some of the other trucks, because people are dumb and just put other tires on. This one doesn't matter. Pick whatever tire you so choose and it'll be good. Even the chains. So this one is 142,100, sells for 71,050. We're going to play the power creep game again. It's clearly going to go into A. You're always going to want this truck with you. It's going to creep past all these. Way more capable than these. Definitely more, not as fuel consumption is good. Better than the Femm. Better than the Aramatsu. Better than the 605. I'm actually going to put this guy all the way up top. I think this is the best. It's, again, all 3 of these are very close. The argument could be placed, but I think for the fact that later in game, this truck will do more for you and be just as capable as things that this can do. Like this thing can just yank high saddle trailers too. So very versatile. This is a truck you kind of want in every region, and I like overloading. So if you don't like overloading, I understand why you might put this below. Whereas this truck doesn't even have a crane. So, so there we go. Last one, the newest in the bunch, the season 15 heavy, the Sleighter. Let's talk about Basically, you get three things. You get a crane, you get a high saddle, and you get a ridiculously large roof rack. The Bandit rear-facing fancy new Bandit crane, the 600 repair point, 240-liter roof rack, and a high saddle. The good. It is very strong for high saddle work, but that is the only work that it can do. So it is a one-sided truck. And this is like debatable, but this is possibly the new highest high saddle in the game. It is very close to a couple of the other ones, but it is up to the top bar of high saddle height, right? So you're keeping the wheels, or not the wheels, the little feet on the trailer out of the dirt, out of the road, the best with a truck like this. Okay, I would put fuel consumption in the average for its size with how gigantic this truck is, but also combined with a huge fuel tank and a huge roof rack, it does okay on fuel. It's definitely like average. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It's on the high side, but it's got so much extra fuel that you don't really feel it that much. This truck also looks cool. In my humble opinion, looks don't matter, but obviously it just looks cool. Sort of a bad combined with a good is the new crane they gave this truck. In order to not hit some high saddle trailers, it needs to be turned around to face the front and tucked into this handy little space that it looks like it belongs in. But also the crane's strength is unmatched. This is stronger than even the Tatra crane. It's clear they gave this crane a boost for strength to be used with the new Season 15 high saddle trailer, the 6-slaughter, so it can reach really far and not drop down. However, it can also clamp lodestars to the roof, put it up there and clamp it, and hold it, and drive around with it. So, FYI. The bad, I've talked about this when we did Season 15, and I've kind of like mulled it over to get more clear wording of it. It's very rear heavy, like it's weighted rear heavy. So even without a load, it likes to lift the front tires off the ground. So be prepared to use that winch to help you turn, right? So like if you're towing a big trailer and it starts to lift the front tires, either let off the gas and like let the front tires down, or sometimes grab a winch somewhere to help it turn. It's also very difficult to get upright if you flip it. It can flip. It's not terribly common, but if you flip it, it's really hard to get back upright, even though there is like a roof winch point. It also sometimes lacks some power going up hills and can stall out in really bad spots, and it forces you to like back up and try again, which it can do. It's just sometimes a little bit of a struggle. I think that's because of also the rear weight issue, which if they were to balance this, I would say to just balance it more front heavy on the weight, and then it would possibly bring the front tires down and give it a little bit more grip, and then it would lift its way up hills. So this is a $192,400 truck, so it sells for $96,200. I was going to put this in A, but I do believe that this has earned the spot of best single-use high saddle, and now plus with a crane truck available to you. Because it is single use, I'm going to put it down at the bottom of S, even below the Femm, because the Femm can just do more things. Even though this is single, but this is like single use you always want to bring. This is single use you only bring if you have a really big high saddle trailer to move. So I think that justifies its place, but it was going to go towards the top of A, but I think I'm going to just power creep it up into S because it's where it belongs. So that is the tier list, guys. It's finally here. It took me forever. Again, I apologize. Real life, work, everything else. Took a lot of time to make this video. But again, I appreciate everybody watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave an angry comment and tell me how wrong I am. Make sure you tell me that you've never played hard mode in your life. I love those. Those are my favorite. But yeah, this is it. This is the last of the tier lists. I was thinking about maybe doing a map list, but that might be just a stream thing, because that's a very subjective list. What I think is fun and other people don't think is fun. It's just sort of for funsies. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna actually go through the trouble of making a video for that one. It might just be someday on stream we'll whip out a tier list maker and do it. Catch me on stream on YouTube or on Twitch in the links below. Thank you again, everybody, for all the support, all the comments, all the love, all the hate. I love it all. I respond to it all. Enjoy the tier lists. Again, these are for hard mode purposes. These are my opinion and my opinion only. But you guys have a great, great, great rest of your year, rest of Snowrunner. Who knows how long it's going to go for. Season 16, if we get some crazy super powered S tier truck, I'm going to just do an addendum to this video. We'll make another little video. Do the season 16 trucks and any possible seasons beyond that. We'll see in Roadcraft, and we'll see in Expeditions, because I play all of them, and we'll see in whatever adventures we come up with in Snowrunner. So thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.